We're white against Krasnodar C. Okay. Let's go e4. And I'd like to remind everyone that we have been playing the 4-knight Scotch with tremendous success in the speedrun. And nobody, as of yet, has responded to it properly. So d6, that's a new move. That's one we haven't faced before. Okay, so it's sort of like a delayed Philidor. And just like in the Philidor, it makes sense to play d4. Okay, so a transposition to the Philidor. Okay, very passive for black. And already we're much better. Well, not much better, but better. Queen f6. So this is... I'm glad our opponent is playing like this, because I think some people have a hard time responding to this type of play, including me against Jospem. Basically, white has two approaches here. One approach is to not decline the queen trade, but to trade on your own terms and play bishop e3. Not so bad. The other approach is, well, we don't want to take, because that allows black to develop their knight. The other approach that we could take is to decline the queen trade, but if we decline it, we want to find the right square to put our queen on, not just like some random square. So the concept that that's germinating in my mind here is to castle queenside. To try to quickly castle queenside and punish black for not developing his pieces. So in the name of castling queenside, one thing that we would want to do is keep the f2 pawn protected. Although we can obviously sacrifice it, but nonetheless. There's a square for the queen that I'm quite confident is not going to be intuitive to most people. It's going to look a little bit awkward, this square. But the queen is kind of overseeing everything on that square. Yeah, it's queen e3. Queen e3, then bishop d2 and castles queenside. And what I want to really indicate here, although we can also fianchetto, but let's play it simple here. Yeah, the bishop isn't great, but our primary goal right now is to castle as quickly as possible. The surface level problems like the bishop, they will resolve themselves. We will be able to improve the position of the bishop. So I always like to talk about this, like what is temporary and what is permanent. Right now, the most important thing is to castle. Because if we can get our pieces out really quickly, we might have a chance to punish black for not developing. And and these temporary issues like developing the bishop to a non-ideal square are so much less important. I don't know if that made sense, but okay, so let's castle. And now how do we want to... Wow, b6, our opponent is totally unconcerned. Now, how do we want to conduct the initiative here? Well, there's a very typical move. There's actually several moves. We can try to exploit the drawback of b6 by going bishop a6, sticking it onto that weak square, and trying to go bishop b7 and win this pawn. In fact, that's probably the best move. Let's do it. But the general approach here is to go f4. Okay, bishop c8. Wow. We have so many options here. We have so many options here. And all of them are good. We can take on c8 and go f4 and revert back to our old strategy. We can again try to trade on our own terms and shift the queen over to d3, for example. Or we can play very romantically. Let's play romantically. Let's see how it turns out. Actually, no. No, it's premature. Okay, you guys, I can tell you guys want me to sack. So I'm going to sack, but not in the way that I think people think I will sack. I'm going to play an interesting move. This is not a move I normally want to go in the play in the speedrun. Bishop b5. Our opponent might think it's a mouse slip. Or maybe not. It has a very simple point, though. The point is we want to stick our knight on d5, and that will jumpstart the attack. The point is we want to stick our knight on d5 and force the queen back to d8. And then blast the center open with the move e5. And I'm just judging that our tremendous piece coordination combined with the fact that black doesn't have a single piece developed is going to give us enough compensation. Okay, bishop b7. So our opponent declines it, but doesn't stop our main idea. So your instinct in such situations should always be to ask whether you can still play the move that you wanted to play. And in this case, you can, because the pawn is actually pinned. Sounds weird, but it is pinned. This bishop is pinning the pawn, which means the knight d5 is very much possible. And, okay, our opponent wants to keep our bishop alive. Be my guest. It's not really a sack anymore. I mean, this is untouchable. The queen is hanging. Knight c7 is sort of a threat, although we might not even play knight c7. Okay, what do we do now? And this move, if you have any experience attacking, should come totally automatically. This move should come with your eyes closed. Yeah, e5. Classic method of tearing the center apart. And that's it. The game is over. I mean, black is just so overwhelmed here by, you know, 1,000 orders of magnitude here. So queen takes e5, obviously. We might not end up sacrificing anything here. Knight e7. Ooh. Oh, man, we have so many good moves here. I mean, we can go knight c7. This is like the utilitarian method of winning. Knight c7 check, and then forcing the king to d7 and then moving our bishop. But we probably want to win more in style. Let me think about this for a second. Don't get this opportunity too often. Well, probably the most elegant move that's also quiet is bishop g5. Get this bishop out of the way, set up a discovery, f6, okay? This hinges on black playing... so we're going to play queen e6. No, we're not. That's bad because of cb. No, unfortunately, I just don't see this working out. I saw a really, really cool concept after queen e6, fg. Like a genuinely cool move that I'll show you afterward. But let's not go overboard and just go knight c7 check. I'll show you this idea after the game, and I'll show you how I know about this idea. Okay, well, obviously we take the queen. We're up a queen. The game is over. And the bishop is hanging and everything. Yeah, the simplest is to take the bishop here. Don't forget to just take material. Sometimes just taking material is the best approach. Now, the first thing I see is that the queen and the rook are making contact. So if we can pin this knight, we'll threaten queen takes c8. I think most people here would be inclined to drop the bishop back, but moves like rook e1, you know, it's a 1700, you got to be able to play. Yeah, and queen takes c8. That's it. King f7, queen e6. Okay, black resigns. Yeah, slight difference between these two games. Now, our opponent did not play well, but still. So let's start from the end, because this will just take me a second to find. So the cool idea that I had was starting with queen e6, right? Unfortunately, black has c takes b5. And here I didn't see anything convincing, because you might be thinking, wait, doesn't knight f6 win the queen? But something I frequently mentioned, whenever you give up a bunch of pieces to get the queen, you have to count them, because sometimes you've given up a lot more than you realize. And here black has a rook and 2 pieces for the queen. It's not that clear. White is out of attacking pieces. But I was really hoping for f takes g5. And if I've calculated it correctly, there is a beautiful winning move here. Yeah, maybe not even that convincing, but still, we should at least try to find it. What makes it beautiful is the fact that it's so quiet. It's unbelievably quiet. And let me see if I can track down the game that inspired me. Yes, I have it. Let me show you the game that inspired me to come up with this move. I don't think Brandon sees it, actually. It's honestly it really is a cool idea. So here is, let me set up on ChessBase the source position. And I've shown this position to a bunch of people. It's not actually that well known. So it's tall versus NN, tall versus unknown. And so tall was playing somebody whose identity is not known. And the following position was reached. And this is highly complex. I could talk about this forever. I'll prepare for a quick summary of this position rather than a long lecture. NN is unknown. NN is unknown. So it's tall against NN. So tall starts with a pretty simple combination. If you have any experience with these types of structures, you'll know that this particular section of the pawn chain is quite vulnerable, and so Tal plays knight f7. Okay, it's a very obvious tactical shot because it loosens the e6 pawn. King f7, queen e6 check, and king f8, and this is the critical position. Now, looking at this for a couple of seconds, you might come to the conclusion that rook f3, I don't think the year is known. Rook f3 check looks like it's mate. It's a simul game, which makes it even more impressive that Tal found this move. And this looks like mate. Knight f6, queen f7. Okay, bishop f6 is forced. And now we hit a brick wall. Because you might say, oh, rook takes f6 is winning. Again, knight f6, there's mate. gf, there's like Bowden's mate. But unfortunately, there's queen takes f6. And there's a problem because white's queen is also hanging. And white's going to end up down at least a piece at the end of the exchanges. Takes. Okay, you can take g7, doesn't matter. White is down a piece. So rook f3 doesn't work. Rook f3 doesn't work. You might say, okay, let's solve the problem by first taking the knight. Also doesn't work, because after bishop takes d5, you can no longer give rook f3 check, because now the bishop controls that square. So you could say, okay, what if we take the bishop first? Knight e7, there's mate. But now there's rook e7. Now rook f3 check, there's no bishop to cover with, but now there's the e8 escape square. Damn it. Queen g8, king d7, black has escaped and is up a piece still. So, I don't know if Brandon knows this position or knows this move. So, a lot of people that I've given this to, after some thought, they do recommend bishop h6. But bishop h6 is kind of useless. I think black can just take. Rook f3, there's still bishop f6. You don't need the pawn. Bishop d5, the queen is hanging. And here Tal plays an absolutely jaw-dropping move. So I'll give you guys a second to think about it. If somebody suggests it, I'll be very impressed. It's an unbelievable move. It's not queen h6. I can take the queen. Yeah, Jasmine got it. Bishop c1. Bishop c1. I don't know if Jose knew this position. It's an unbelievable move. Oh, he was trolling. It is bishop c1. So the idea is incredibly pure. If you imagine the position after rook f3, bishop f6, this diagonal is actually what's weakened by bishop f6. So you would love, if this bishop landed on a3, it would be mate. So you prepare for that by playing bishop c1, and it turns out that there's absolutely nothing black can do against the threat of rook f3 because black is so tied down. And if you move the bishop here, then bishop a3 check happens. It's literally over immediately. Well, black found a way to prolong the game. So for instance, let's say queen d7, right? Rook f3, bishop f6, bishop a3 check, and black maybe isn't mated immediately, but loses all of his pieces. As you can understand. In the game, it's the computer best. Yeah, this is the only move. This is the only winning move. Black played bishop f6, bishop a3, rook e7. Tal played rook e4, probably unnecessary, but this just shows you how paralyzed black is. King e8, bishop takes c7, knight e7, d5. Bishop b5, and now Tal wins in style. d6. Bishop takes d3. Can you guys find the mate? Mate in 2. Yes. d7. Queen d7, queen g8, mate. Beautiful. Pretty stunning. The year I don't think is known. So this is, I mean, yeah, bishop c1 to find an assignment is ridiculous. I mean, it just takes a genius mind. Like, I wish his brain could be examined. Yeah, bishop c1. Just to think of the concept that, like, you have to reroute the bishop in this position is unbelievable. So how does this relate, you might ask, to our discussion of the uses of irony? It's an obscure reference I don't think anybody's going to get. So in this position, it's not exactly the same, and I don't think it quite works, but what move was I going to play here? bishop e2. And the idea is to play bishop h5 check, force g6, and then mate with knight f6. And if black takes cd, then not bishop h5, because now after g6, there's no follow-up. But now the bishop goes back to b5 and wins everything because of the pin. So any move, basically, you go whatever. Any move, you go bishop h5, knight f6. Now, black, I'm afraid, has a defense here. How can black defend against bishop h5? This is a kind of move that people very often miss. Yeah, black can himself play h5. And although this weakens the g6 square, it's being protected by the knight. Now, I'm sure white is winning here. And maybe there is even a pretty win. Let's see. Let's check with the computer here. This is greatly, the beauty of this is greatly diminished by how winning it is to begin with. There's 100,000 winning moves, so completely unnecessary. Yeah, so you can see, by the way, CB is far less convincing. It's winning. Oh, wow, rook he1. Oh, what a move. This threatens bishop... Oh, that is really nice. This threatens bishop h5 and queen g6. Oh my god, look at this mate. Takes. Now queen g6, there's king d7. So knight c7 and queen g... Oh, okay, that is friggin' out of this world. That is so cool. And this all happens because black played h5, weakening the g6 square. So bishop e2 is not best because of queen takes d5, but it is completely winning. Yeah, and it's just, yeah, rook he1, what a move. Just so quiet, getting the pieces in place for this combination. Yeah. Queen g6, I mean, also wins, but yeah. g4, knight e7. And here again, queen g6. I mean, is anyone not nerding out at this? If you're not, then you're in the wrong stream. It really is art. I mean, it honestly is. You show this to somebody who doesn't think chess is art. Anyways, again, all of this is so unnecessary because knight c7 check in this position was by far the most convincing move. But nonetheless, it's better than nothing. So in terms of the game itself, okay, queen e3 is good, actually. You can see the eval is already overwhelming, and we played basically correctly to castle quickly. Knight d5 here was also very strong. Now, bishop b5 is, yeah, not bad. It keeps a very overwhelming evaluation, actually. But yeah, the idea of this move was knight d5 and then e5, and just you blast everything open. Although computer doesn't like it because of bishop e6. According to the engine, you have to play knight takes b5, actually. A little counterintuitive. And then just go for the bishop b4, sorry. Bishop takes d6. That makes sense. That makes sense. You just go after the d6 pawn instead. Where did my opponent go wrong? In the very open, like, just everything. First of all, d6 is passive. Second of all, knight d4 is just bad. And I'm honestly surprised that these 1700s are still doing it. They keep going to these types of positions with black, where black is incredibly passive. And we're already developing all of our pieces. So I don't know why this instinct to take on d4. But here black should play knight f6, and black's position is totally fine. But anyways, bye everybody. Thanks again.